everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to go ahead and get into the new holiday collection from Guerlain. So they launched several things in their holiday collection. As you guys saw in the beginning of the intro, they launched several items and I picked up several of them on the Selfridges website. They keep kind of coming into stock and selling out. In my review updates video, I talked to you guys about Shop Tagger. I had downloaded that to my mobile app, and so when these guys came back into stock on the Selfridges website, I was able to pick them up before they sold out again. So let's get into what I picked up and what we're going to be doing and reviewing in today's video. So the first thing that we have here is the Golden Bee eyeshadow palette. And this palette retails for $66. This palette is made in France and it does come with this little brush. It has a brush on one side and a little felt tip applicator on the other side. And it comes with a full-size mirror on it. And I also picked up the Illuminating Powder. So this is also made in France. This retails for $47. It's in a cute little tin can and it does have a mirror on the other side. And this is also made in France. You get 10 grams worth of product. And I also picked up one of the lipsticks and the cases. Now I wanted the bee because I thought the bee was so cute, but I never saw it on the Selfridges website. I don't know if it's not available yet or what. So I went ahead and picked up this one, which is called the Stunning Gems. It's a double-ended mirror refill case, and it's really cute. And this was $36 for this. And then I picked up one shade of the refill. They have 3 shades available. You can get clear or a red color or the Rosewood. So I chose the Rosewood, which I'm wearing it right now. It doesn't really match my eyeshadow look, but I still wanted to wear it in the video. And this was $29.50 for the refill. So the only thing I've ever bought from Guerlain is a foundation. So I'm not really familiar with the brand. I've never used their eyeshadows. So this was my first experience in using their eyeshadows, and boy, was it an experience. So I decided to create 3 looks with it because there are 10 shades in this palette. So I thought there's enough shades in here. I can do several looks and try to play with as many shades as I could in the palette. Oh boy, boy, boy. So that was fun. I also have never really tried any of their illuminating powders. I've heard about them before. I've heard about their Terracotta bronzer. I've heard a lot of great things about it. So I decided to grab this. Let me just say this. I am really, really glad that I was able to get my hands on this palette to hopefully better educate you on what you're spending your money on if you decide to buy this palette. In my opinion, it was worth it. So let's go ahead and jump into the tutorials. I did 3 tutorials with this palette, and we will get into the tutorial of me applying the illuminating powder on, and then of course the lipsticks. Then we will get into some swatches, and then I will jump into my final thoughts. So without further ado, let's jump into the tutorials. Okay, so here we are. We are going to jump into a few looks using this new palette from Guerlain. Now, I am going to be doing 2 different looks on each eye, and then I'm going to wipe it off and then do one final look. So right now, all I have on is a little bit of foundation and my brows done. And as for my eyeshadow base, I'm using the Makeup by Mario Master Eye Prep and Set in the shade Medium. So let's jump into look number 1. Okay, so I'm going to first highlight the brow bone, and I'm going to go into this shade right here, the second shade in the palette. I'm just going to pick it up with a dry brush and place it right. I'm not getting a lot of pigment, but I'm going to kind of twirl my brush into the pan and see if we can get some more pigment. Let's swatch that one. That one doesn't seem very pigmented. Oh, it's not very pigmented. That's why I was struggling. So it might be a little bit of a dud. Yeah, it looks like these 2 shades are the only ones that are like true mattes. This shade right here and the purple is a little bit more of like a satin matte. Let's first go into this shade right here. It's kind of like a red copper shade. And let's put that on the lid first. I'm going to go in dry. I'm going to use the Mario E5 brush. And let's place this on the lid dry. Where is the color? in its defense, I'm going to switch brushes. I'm going to grab Rephr number 2 brush, and I'm going to go into that shade. Let's see if we can get some more pigment. Okay, so let's use the felt tip applicator that comes with the palette. Maybe. Okay, let me say this. If a felt tip applicator doesn't apply a shadow, it's not very good. I'm going to go in with my finger. I can't even get it to apply with a finger, you guys. Like, I am now just really rubbed my finger. Like, you can see the dent. Okay, so this shadow is weak AF. How much did I pay for this palette? I'm going to pick up some on a brush and spray it. And let's see if spraying it helps. Terrible pigment, you guys. This is applying it 4 different ways and at least 10 times to get this pigment. All right, I'm going to take a crease brush. I'm going to go into the matte right below it. Now I'm going to go into that rush shade. I'm going to pick it up with a brush and just bring it over top of that and kind of blend it out just to see what that shimmer shade looks like in the crease. Okay, so I'm not really having the best first impression of this expensive Guerlain palette. The matte is just a little bit harsh. Like if I look from the side, you can't tell, but if I look up like straight on, you can kind of see where it's like grabbing onto certain parts of the eyelid. I don't love that. I don't love it at all. And I don't think it's a flattering matte either. So I'm going back into the matte color just to kind of bring it out a little bit and try to buff out some of those edges where it's like grabbing. But man, this palette is terrible so far. And I'm just not loving how my eye just looks like I got kind of punched into the face. I just don't know. I don't know. I don't love this. Okay, I'm going to wipe this off. This is going to be like the longest tutorial ever, but I'm going to wipe this off because it's just too much out into the crease. And I was trying to just kind of blow it out, but it's just not a formula that I can do that with. Okay, I'm going to go back into my Mario prep and set and just kind of go right over top here. Okay, I'm going to take a smaller brush. I'm going to take the BK Beauty 207 and I'm going to go into that matte shade right there. I'm going to bring that shade like right here. See, that matte is pigmented, but you do have to be careful with it because if you draw it out too far, it starts to look like you totally got punched in the face. I'm going to take a clean brush and just kind of buff it out. I'm going to try to, oh my gosh, this matte. Okay, so it's pigmented, but it's patchy. So it attaches super, super, super quick. Okay, I'm going to go into that matte shade and bring it along the lower lash line. You guys can see the pigment. Like the pigment is there. It's just like super patchy and it attaches so badly to places that you don't want it to. I think I'm just gonna leave this here, you guys, because I can't get this to blend and it's just not a friend of mine. Like we're not friends today. I'm just, and I don't think it's showing up on camera. Maybe it is. So I'm gonna use these as a pointer, but it's grabbing like right here. It's grabbing like right here and like all right here, and I can't get it to blend out. It's very, very frustrating. I'm not even going to bother putting on any type of mascara. Let's go ahead and jump into look number 2. For look number 2, let's go into this really pretty shade. It does have like a gorgeous, gorgeous texture to it. And it's really pretty. So I want to see what that shade will look like. First, let's use a brush. Let's use a brush first. Okay, so I'm going to first grab the E5 from Mario and place it here. Okay, so this tells me that they can do shimmers right. Like, they can. They're capable. So let's grab the felt tip applicator in the actual palette itself. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. See that pigment? Like, all of the shadows should have that. All of them. All of them. Let's grab this gray shade. Again, there's really not a lot of mattes to use with this. So I'm going to bring this in the crease. Oh my gosh. This palette is throwing me for a loop right now. The last shimmer I used, I had to build and build and build and build and build. The matte I used was really pigmented but super patchy. This shimmer builds itself and it's explosively beautiful, like gorgeous. But the matte, the gray matte, is not pigmented but blends out. I can't figure this palette out, you guys. I'm gonna grab the 207 BK Beauty brush that I was using in the last tutorial and like pack it on out here on the outer corner. It blends out because it doesn't have much pigment to blend. Like, it's the most bizarre palette I've ever used. Like, what in the hell is the deal with this palette? Oh my gosh. Shit on a stick. This is bad. This is bad. Bad, 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 bad. I freaking can't with this palette right now, you guys. What is the deal? All right, I'm going to wipe both of these looks off. And I'm going to try to play with the purple shade right next to it, this one, and maybe incorporate some of these two shades to kind of help the purple. Okay, so I wiped those off, reapplied my eyeshadow primer, and we're gonna attempt to do this one more time. So I'm gonna start with this matte first because the other two I started with a shimmer. Let's start with the matte first. And I'm going to go into that purple using the BK Beauty 207 brush. Apply this right here on this outer corner, kind of just keeping it close to the bridge of that bone. And I'm just going to build it up. Okay, again, it's getting very patchy. I'm going to go into a blending brush and just try to blend it out a little bit. And it's got pigment. It's just really patchy. Okay, so that helps. Just going in very lightly and like making small little teeny brush strokes. You don't want to go in too much with it because it is pigmented, but it will blend out really patchy on me, and I am not living for the patchiness of these shadows. So I'm just going in very lightly and building it to try to create some type of definition, and then going in and trying to gently buff it out and blend it, just trying to build it and cover up some of the patchiness. And just eventually hoping that I get to a place where it's blended and presentable, because this looks terrible. Okay, now I'm really digging in there. I probably made like 4 or 5 circles trying to get the pigment. These are just very... Okay, I'm going to show you what I'm doing here. Okay, that's how many times I circled. This palette hates me. It absolutely hates me. I can't get it to work. Okay, I'm going to go into the matte purple and just go right over top of it because I did drag some of that shimmer into the crease. I can't make that purple work. It's terrible, you guys. What is the deal with this palette? Oh, I'm so frustrated. I'm so frustrated. Do I need to use a different eyelid primer? I mean, maybe it's the primer. Should we try a different eyelid primer? Because I don't know. It is terrible. I'm going to wipe it off. I'm going to use the NARS Soft Matte Primer, which I have been using this for a while now. You can see that it's like pretty far down in the pot. And I normally set it with my Charlotte Tilbury Flawless Finishing Powder. This one right here. So I'm just going to set it in place. I'm going to go into the purple. So I'm just taking a clean brush and I'm going to go over those edges and try to like buff it out. Oh my gosh, this is like a hot freaking mess, you guys. If you want to watch 20 minutes of me getting ready to cuss, then that's where we're at. I am going to go into my KKW Beauty palette and I'm going to grab this shade right here. I'm going to go over top of it and try to get that to blend and look decent. Okay, I think I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to grab the purple from the KKW Beauty palette and I'm going to bring it along my lower lash line. I'm going to take the flat definer brush and I'm going to go into the dark purple in the Guerlain and smoke this into the outer corner. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and finish this eye, throw some lashes on. When I come back, we're going to apply this Golden Bee Illuminating Powder on the skin and see what it looks like. So I will be right back. Okay, so I threw on a pair of lashes and I'm just going to leave it here because I'm kind of done with that palette. Let's move on to the Golden Bee Illuminating Powder. So I wanted to swatch this so I could see kind of the color of it, so I could see like exactly how to wear it. And it looks like it'd be really pretty over a bronzer, but I'm going to put it on one cheek alone so you guys can see what it looks like. And then on the other side, I'm going to put some bronzer on so you guys can see what it looks like over top of bronzer. So I'm going to use the Sonia G Soft Cheek Brush. So I'm going to go in and just softly, ooh. Okay, that's pigmented and very pretty. It's a little bronzy for the purple eyeshadow look I'm wearing, but whatever. I was thinking that this would look better over top of a bronzer, but this is pretty as a bronzer. And it's very, very pigmented. So I'm going to put a little bit up here. Now, I don't have any of my translucent setting powder on or anything yet. I will buff some of this out with some setting powder, but this is really pretty. So I'm going to grab the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Bronzer in the shade Tan. I wanted to grab a matte one just to see. So I'm going to put just a little teeny bit of this right here. And I'm using the Charlotte Tilbury Bronzer brush. I have a little bit of the bronzer down. Let's go into this illuminating powder. It smells so good. What? It smells so good. It smells like their perfume. And I don't have the best sense of smell, so I'm not really smelling it as I'm applying it, but I could smell it on the brush. It smells so good. Ooh, it smells so good. Why couldn't the eyeshadow palette be like this? Okay, I'm going to grab some of my Hourglass Translucent Setting Powder. Okay, so the bronzing powder, it has a shimmer to it, but it's very soft, so it still even looks okay over texture. It's really pretty. I mean, you can see kind of how my cheek has that really pretty shine to it. I think the illuminating powder is very, very pretty. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into the lipsticks. This I'm very excited about. Okay, so I finished the rest of my makeup. Let's try on the new lipstick. You have to buy the case and then you have the lipstick. Now, the case comes with this little sticker. And when you remove it, the lid just kept popping up. And I'm like, why won't it shut? Because it's a double-sided mirror. So there's mirror here and a mirror here, which is very handy to be able to just throw your lipstick on. I mean, kind of genius to have the mirror right on the lipstick tube. But I couldn't figure out why it wouldn't shut. I'm like, this is the weirdest thing. And then of course I noticed that there was some rhinestones missing here at the bottom, and that's where this little piece comes in. So this is the refillable that you can choose different shades with it. And this, when you stick it in there, it actually shuts it and shuts the lid tight, which is really nice. So it took me a minute to kind of figure it out, but this is a very, very beautiful bullet. Now, I have tons of these from House of Sillage. These are my favorite because they're so pretty. So it's solid metal. Even this is metal. This right here is plastic, but this component is metal. This one is called Golden Ruby, and the lipstick I chose is number 64. You can see it has the Guerlain kind of logo right here, and then it has Guerlain written right on the bullet. So let's go ahead and try this on. It's not gonna match my eyeshadow look, but whatever. It is what it is. It's not quite red and it's not quite like burgundy. It's kind of like the in-between. It's a very, very, very pretty shade. Let me swatch it here on the back of my hand. Like this one, actually. It's a very, very unique, beautiful shade. I really like this. Okay, so that's it for the try-on portion of the video. Let's go ahead and jump into the swatches and I will get into my final thoughts. Okay, so let me go ahead and get into my final thoughts. I think it's very clear. I do not like this palette. The only shade that I liked in the palette is this beautiful like blue silver color, and it has so much pigment and it's stunning. So, so pretty. Now, when I swatched this palette, I went in several times. Like I went in several times so that you could kind of see the actual shade as what it looks like, but these are not even very pigmented when you swatch them. I don't know, I was so frustrated when I used this palette, and I do, you know, looks consistently on my channel, and as I've grown on my YouTube platform, and the more that I play with shadows and the more that I create different looks, and as I've kind of come out of my shell a little bit, and my skills have gotten a little bit better as I continue to work with eyeshadows and create looks on camera and stuff, I would say this is probably the absolute most frustrating palette I've ever used on camera. And to have all three of the looks that I tried to create with it just totally a flop. Like, I don't think I've ever done 2 eyeshadow looks where I didn't even finish them because I was so frustrated. I didn't even bother putting lashes on because I was just too frustrated to even try. If you guys were even thinking about getting this palette, I would 100% pass. There are so many amazing palettes out on the market, and this, my friends, is not one of them. This is a bad palette. On a scale from 1 to 5, this is a 0. Like, I can't even give it a 1 star. Even though this shade right here is so pretty, there's nothing in the palette that you can use with it because this gray shade is so ridiculous to work with that it's unusable unless you pull from other palettes, like I ended up having to. So this is just a no-go. Like 100%, you guys, don't waste your hard-earned money on this palette. Don't waste your money on it. Let's move on to the illuminating powder. I really like this little tub. I think it's really cute. It's a very pretty bronzing powder. I really like the way that this really warmed up my skin. I will probably use this more in the summertime. I think this is absolutely beautiful for the summer. I love how this had enough pigment to where it blended really beautifully on the cheek. And the thing that I like about it is it's not super shimmery to the point where it's going to exaggerate texture, but it does look very, very pretty. And I'm really glad that I have it. This is pretty expensive. I don't feel like this is necessary, but if you guys were looking at purchasing this and you're curious about it, then I don't think you'll be disappointed. But if this was something that you're just not really that interested in, then you could totally pass on it. It's not like you're missing out on something that's really, really, you know, like life-changing or anything. Now, let me move on to the lipstick. So I think this lipstick case is very pretty, and you know, again, it's not necessary, but it's very pretty. It really is. And I do love this shade that I bought with it, because I think this is just a more wearable shade for me. And this is really pretty. I like the formula. I think the formula is very comfortable on the lip, even though it is a matte formula, so it's going to last a little bit longer, but I feel like it's a very comfortable matte, and I don't mind it. So those are my final thoughts on everything in the collection. So I hope that this review was helpful for you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with me in today's video. Sound off down below. Have you guys picked up anything from this collection? Were you planning on picking up anything from this collection? If you have got something, what did you get, and do you like it or do you not like it? Your guys' input is just as important as any other creator coming on camera and, you know, sharing your experience with you. And your guys' input is always so important in the comment section. So definitely sound off down below. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I hope you guys all have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I will see you all in my next video. Love you. Bye.